Right, so this is video 3. Coach Toyin here, Christian transformation and lifestyle coach, founder of the Narrow Gateway. Video 3 on the topic of what is purpose, what are you supposed to do when you do not know what you're supposed to do. I'm going to call it that. What is purpose and what are you supposed to do when you do not know what you're supposed to do? There have been two videos before this one. Make sure you watch video 1 and video 2. In video 1, I talk about this whole concept of purpose. I don't dive a lot into what purpose is. I just talk about the fact that there's a purpose. God has a unique purpose for every single one of us, and it is your job, it is your inheritance, it is your right as a child of God to go and search the mind of God, to search the heart of God, to discover his purpose. It is his desire, it's his good pleasure for you to discover his purpose and walk in it. Do not limit God, and do not limit yourself by saying, oh, whatever my hand finds to do, I'll just do it well, and that is me walking in purpose. No. Yes, you need to do whatever you find in your heart to do, or in your hands to do it well, but do it well on the understanding that as you are pursuing your relationship of intimacy with God, the Lord is going to be revealing to you his thoughts and his plans for your life, and you're going to immerse yourself into that and make that what your life is about. And so the second video that I did was to talk about, okay, so fine. So let's say you are on a journey with the Lord. You're trying to discover intimacy. You're working towards intimacy with the Lord, but you still just don't yet know what you must do now. You know that maybe perhaps where you are at right now in your life is not where you need to be. It's not the thing that God has called you to do for an extended period of time, but you don't know if so. Therefore, should you leave it? So, for example, should I leave this job? Should I not? Should I move to South Africa? Should I move to Canada? Should I move to wherever? Should I stay in Nigeria? Like, what is it that I should do right now? And the answer that I started giving you in video 2 is this: do whatever good thing God has placed in your heart to do and in your hands to do, and do it well. Ask yourself, is it a good thing? In that, is it pleasing to God? Is it a good thing? In that, how does it impact on your relationship of intimacy, or your growing relationship of intimacy with God? Is it a good thing? In that, is it providing for the needs? Is it a way in which God is using to provide for the needs of your family? Is it a good thing in that God is using it to help to grow your character, to grow your skills, to grow your professionalism, to grow your network? Is it a good thing in that it is a tool to grow you as a person? Because the thing that you are doing now, in as much as it might not be the thing that you're meant to do for the rest of your life, that could very easily be something that God is using to equip you and to prepare you for the thing that this season of your life is going to be about. And then I started to share in video 2, I started to share about my story and how I am a lawyer by profession, and I worked as a lawyer for 12 to 13 years before I started doing what I do now, and how my work as a lawyer was 100% equipping. The exposures that I had when I first worked in a very big law firm in South Africa, one of the biggest in Africa at the time. It probably still is the biggest right now, in Africa. Very, very prestigious, very well known and very prestigious law firm. Very proud to have that as part of my work history, and it was a hard time of my life because I didn't really enjoy the work. I didn't enjoy the personality that I needed to have as a lawyer. But guess what? God kept me there for the season that I needed to be there. Why? Because he was honing me, he was equipping me. So when I eventually left, I think I worked there for about 4 or 5 years. And then I left when I got married, and I went into banking, and I worked in a bank. And, in as much as I had really struggled just with the intensity of working in a law firm like that, but when I got into banking, I found that the skills and the professionalism and the mindset that I had honed, in that law firm, was what set me apart in the banking. When I started working in the bank, it set me apart. It made me excellent. It made me a problem solver. It made me somebody that thought outside the box, who was prepared for any situation that might arise. It literally set me up. So that when I got into the bank, I very, very quickly rose to so-called, when they call you an asset, as in human resources, a human resources asset. I was considered to be a leader. I was sent for training. I was sent for courses. I was traveling all over the place on courses and stuff like that. I won an award, a banking award. I can't remember what's the name of the award. In fact, I won a Rising Star Award. Rising Stars under 40 in banking. I won an award. I think that was, I'm looking at my certificate. That was in 2012. certificate is still there. That was in 2012. I won an award. I'm like, really? This is not even something that I'm passionate. Like, why did I win the award? Because I was nominated by my company. Why did they nominate me? Because I was excellent at what I did, in as much as it was not my passion or my thing that I was in love with. And in that job, I got the opportunity to be a manager, to start managing people. I had my own team of people working for me. It was wonderful. Trust me, I love to be a manager because I love to delegate. Oh, it was the best thing because I could delegate. So I could manage my team, and I was managing the department that I was in charge of was one of the strategic departments in the firm. In the company. I was a lawyer working in the legal department. I was responsible for the litigation department, recoveries, and all litigation that the bank was involved in. I was responsible for that, and that was huge. In banking, recoveries, retail recoveries, corporate recoveries is definitely a big deal, right? It goes to the bottom line. But I was responsible for that. I was doing presentations to executive level, doing presentations to board level. I was going on trainings. I was going on executive trainings, executive leadership trainings, all sorts. I was growing as a person. I didn't love the work, but I was growing professionally. In my skill set, I was growing, learning how to lead people. I was growing. It was amazing. And also as a child of God, I was growing because I had people who worked for me, or people who worked in my department or in the broader department, who would come to me and share things that were going on in their lives for me to pray with them and stuff like that. So it was an opportunity to grow me, in as much as it wasn't my thing forever, but I was there and it grew me. I think I was there for about 4 or 5 years. I was there, and it was such a blessing because it was not at the time, the intensity of the work was not as much as my first company that I worked for, the law firm that I worked for. So I was having a much better salary, really, really great work experience, but guess what? Really good lifestyle. And then as time went on in life, I got fed up, and again I was like, Lord, I can't do this. I can't. There were other things going on in my life. I was also, my husband and I were also struggling to have kids, so we had a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes. So I had a bit of a situation, and I was like, you know what? In fact, for a period, I worked from home. I've really had some excellent bosses. I worked from home at some point. In fact, sometimes I would be like in Accra, Ghana, in Togo, and I'd be working. I was diligent. That's why they allowed me to do that, by the way. And after some time, I left that job and I didn't work for a few months. I think about 6 months I didn't work. And then, boom, the time came when I just knew in my spirit and in my heart that it's time for me to go back to work. It wasn't because I knew that, you are supposed to be a lawyer. Toyin, you are meant to be a lawyer. No, it's just because I knew that this is what God had placed in my hands to do. He hadn't told me what else I could do. And I definitely couldn't sit around doing nothing. Very important. You are not created to sit around doing nothing. Even when somebody says to you, be still and know that He is God. Be still and know that He's God does not mean do nothing. Be still is a state of the heart. It's not a state of your time where you're just sitting around doing nothing, you're waiting on God. No. I was not sure. I didn't know yet what God wanted me to do. So I looked at what He had placed in my hands. I had a law degree, I had great work experience. And I applied for a job, and I got a job in a multinational, really great company. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for about 4 years. Really, really great experience. Also got the opportunity to travel, to grow as a professional. Oh wow. I got upskilled in amazing ways. I got exposed to working for an international company, to working with foreign colleagues. It was just amazing. And when the time came for that season to be over, the Lord gave me clarity as to what was next. In fact, He gave me such crystal clarity that I knew what I was going to be doing from the moment I quit that job. I knew exactly what I was going to be doing. So what am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to tell you that even while you are waiting on the Lord, or while you are waiting on your own personal growth to the point where you can know and understand and hear the voice of God and know and understand what He's calling you to do in your next season, do not make the mistake of saying you're going to sit still and do nothing. Don't say I'm going to quit what I'm doing now unless you know that God has told you to quit. Don't say I'm going to quit what I'm going to do now. I'm going to wait and see what God will tell me to do. No. Unless He's told you to quit, do not quit. You carry on in what He has given you to do. And you do it well. And you do it as unto the Lord. That is what the Lord wants you to do. Do not quit. Do not say, I know that this is not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. Look. The Lord can put you in a situation. He can say to you, go and live in Kenya. No, let me not use that example. Go and live in Ethiopia. Right? And you're like, but Lord, I don't have a desire to live in Ethiopia. I don't have a heart for Ethiopian people. What am I doing in Ethiopia? Let's say the Lord plants you in Ethiopia, and you know that Ethiopia is not your destination. You know it is not the place that you're meant to spend your life. But if God has placed you there, maximize your time there, knowing that the time will come for you to move. And you need to be able to look back at your time in Ethiopia and say, you know what? God was with me. I maximized every opportunity that the Lord allowed me to have in this place. And I am walking out of Ethiopia with what God wanted, with what God allowed me to be there for. You've got to walk out of every situation that you find yourself in with what God allowed you to be there for. Remember that you are a child of God. Remember, I was giving you tools in the second video. I gave you 3 tools. And the second tool I gave you was, remember that you're a child of God. Your steps are ordered by the Lord. Your steps are ordered by the Lord. That means that as you are walking, He's leading you. As you're walking, He's leading you. So no. You know, the chances of you being in error, I'm not saying that you cannot be in error. Yes, you can be in error. But that's if you've heard the voice of God and you have not obeyed, or the Lord has been speaking and you're not listening. But if you have been walking with the Lord and you've been praying about your journey and you've been walking with Him, you are not in error. Wherever He has placed you, wherever He has allowed you to be, He's working it out for your good. And you just need to stay focused. That was my point 1 that I made in the second video. Stay focused on growing your relationship with God, so that you can be certain when God speaks, certain of what He says, and certain so that you can move forward in strength. So I hope what I've shared with you in these 3 videos is helpful to you. Number 1, God has a unique purpose for your life. Unique to you. Let me rephrase that. God has a purpose for everybody's life. We all have the same purpose when we come into the knowledge of Christ, and that is establish His kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. But then your calling is unique to you. Your calling is the way in which God has said to you as a person, this is how I want you to go about partnering with me to establish my kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. And then you also have a bag of tools. For each season of your life, a bag of tools that God hands to you and says, these are the tools that I have given you to use to establish to fulfill the calling that I have given to you. Do not mistake your tools. So your tools might be your skills, it might be your talents, it might be the resources that you have. Do you understand? Your tools might be your history. Do not mistake your tools to be your calling, and do not mistake your calling to be your purpose. So you can understand why your calling is unique to you. Which brings me to my third point, what I shared in the third video, which is, do not, if you are stuck, if you don't yet know what your next season is, stay in your current season and just focus on your relationship with God. Focus on intimacy with God, and understand that the Lord is guiding your steps. As you walk, He is guiding you and leading you in the way that you should go. As long as you're staying close and you're staying intimate, you will not make a mistake. Do your best in wherever He places you, as you are waiting to get to that point where you can hear His voice clearly. Okay, I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you watch videos 1 and 2. I am Coach Toyin, fully convicted by my own words and very much still under construction in the hands of the Father. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Bye.